Opportunity to ask questions, to voice some opinions, some ideas.
I got one point I think needs to be made tonight.
Okay, Mark?
When the Joint Power Board decided that we should approach the cooperative that formed back in November of 2012 and say, let's work together, one of the things we said to the cooperative board was, we're going to turn this project over to you. You'll own it and you'll operate it and we'll help you get it off the ground. But if it turns out that the townships don't want to participate, and that's your call, then the cooperative board agreed to operate it as a cooperative in the cities only. I think the cities are mostly on board with this. They have some questions. I think that the cities are going to build this. And I think this is the rural, your opportunity to have that kind of technology at your farm. You know, it costs about $2,500 in town to build this to each home. It costs $10,000 on average to build it to each farm. Yet the costs are being averaged, they're being blended. You're not paying any more, and we're not paying any more. We're on the hook for more than $2,500 in town. You're not on the hook for as much as it's going to cost to build your farm. If townships decide they don't want to participate, that's fine. They won't be built out.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay, questions, comments? We'll open the floor up. Cindy?
I have a question. So I live in the rural area, and so what if my township says no, they don't want to go in, but I still want to? How do I get the fiber to my farm if I had to do that? What would it cost me? Maybe earlier.
That would depend on where you. That would depend on what kind of lateral fibers were built, around, how close they were to your farm, because there'll be a backbone that connects all of the towns, and there'll be laterals off of that. If you're close enough, you could probably pay to connect. If you're not close enough, it probably wouldn't pay you to connect. I don't know. It could cost you $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000.
What, a mile, a foot?
It's $15,000 to $20,000 per mile.
Why don't you just hang on to it? Up here. Okay.
Okay, now it's going to be a buried cable. It's going to involve easements. Where's it going to get buried?
It's going to be buried about 3 feet under. They've scoped out all the rights of way. We've talked to MnDOT, we've talked to the counties, and we know we have rights of way in the cities. We don't expect to have to pay for any of the rights of way, so that's kind of one of the easier things we have here.
Like just for our particular way, we've got cables going on all sides of the roads already. We're going
Right.
to fit them in there someplace.
Yep, there's room in those wide rights of way that we have here in Sibley County and in Renville County.
Multi-township.
Yeah.
And just a question, for instance, we want it. Township and the other side of us doesn't want it. You know what I'm saying?
All I can, yeah, he's saying what happens if we want it and this township doesn't want it, and all our consultant has said, it depends on who and how many, because it's a matter of engineering the right kind of network design for it. So if I don't know if I expect all of the townships to be in or not. I would hope they would be. But it just depends on who.
Linda?
I know that the timeline is tight for one of the decisions from the townships by March 31st, and it would be unrealistic to expect that we'd have all the pledge cards in by that time. Say all the townships decide to go in, all the cities decide to go in, but 6 months from now, when we're ready to do financing, we're at 40% or 45%. Is the project still going to move forward? Does the Joint Powers Board have some say in that, or is it up to the cooperative board? How does that work?
That would be up to the cooperative board. I would think it would be a matter of the timing of the bonding. 6 months from now, if all the bonding's been done and all the primary financing is in place, in order for that to happen, I'm looking at Shannon, everybody has to feel comfortable that it's going to work. Now, remember, you can be in a township that only has 30% of the people who say they want it. But that doesn't mean it's going to fail in your township. It's the overall project that's successful.
But if the overall project isn't looking
It won't be
We're not
done.
expected.
No, if the overall project does not look good, if it does not look like, right, Shannon? If it does not look like it will cash flow, our consultant has told us he will not be involved with a project that fails. Our operator says they will not be involved with a project that fails. The guys lending us the money don't want to be involved with a project that fails. So if it doesn't look like it's going to work, it ain't going to happen.
Question right there.
How quickly are you expecting a response from your cards and get back to the townships on what our percentages were?
That's a good question. How soon do we expect these pledge cards to be turned in? The first time around, it took us about eight or 9 months, but it was all new then. This time, we think people are going to remember it. Already, by the time I came here today, we had over 50 pledge cards in on the internet because we sent out an email blast. I would think we would know in 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. I'm guessing, and I know that March 31st deadline's tight. It's possible it could move. I don't know. Harold?
The last time it failed with the county was because of the bond attorney. Do you need a bond attorney's approval this time?
Yes, we need her approval right here. She's gone through all of the issues, and she's comfortable that she can provide that opinion. And now remember, the first time around, if the reason he wouldn't give the bond opinion wasn't because it wasn't legal. That had nothing to do with it. What he said the first time around, because it was the $70 million figure for everybody. Now it's 15 for us, right? It was 70 then. He said, look, if it fails in the fourth year, because you borrow enough money for the first 3 years, if it fails in the fourth year and you have no cash, and you have to use your entire debt service reserve fund amount, which we had to borrow, these cities, and it wasn't township, and these counties are going to have to double their levies. And they aren't going to do that. They're going to walk away from this. And we said, yes, they are. But you have to remember, we're starting with 4,300 customers. And the only way it fails in the fourth year is if you lose 4,300 customers in the first 3 years. Well, the worst of the community networks and municipal networks didn't lose customers. They were underfunded, they were mismanaged, they didn't grow the customers as fast, but they all grew customers. So we said, but the chances of that happen are 0. And he said, I have to stake my reputation on it. He has insurance. He says, I just can't do it. So that's what happened. It wasn't that it was illegal. It's just that he was uncomfortable with that risk.
Sheila?
Refresh my memory, I know that Arlington and Anderson opted out of the first one. Were they given an opportunity to come into this?
Arlington approached us a few weeks ago, and we had a group go over and talk to their city council. We have a member of their city council here tonight. Henderson approached us also, and we had a group go down and talk to them. I don't know if Henderson's here tonight. I don't think they are. But they're welcome to join. Yes, sir. Dana.
When you talk about growing customers in the early stages, I'm just learning about RS Fiber and broadband. But what I do know is it's difficult to get out of cell phone contracts and cable contracts. Has there been any research done in the business plan that estimates how difficult that is, how many people will be affected, what the cost will be to individual cell phone and cable users to get out of those contracts to join?
Did everybody hear the question? How difficult it is to get out of the question? When it comes to cell phone, that's going to happen. We think we'll offer cell phone, but that's kind of a minor play. If people want out and they want ours and they can get out, that's fine. When it comes to cable and internet, what we tell people now, we're 2 years out. So if they want to sign a 2-year contract, go ahead. If they want to bring in MVTV because a Clearwave shutdown, do it. There's no contract there. But we will let you know, most of the cable customers aren't new customers. Most of them have been existing customers for a long, long time. So we don't think there's a lot of contract issues there, but there's lots of lead time, Dana. Doug?
my understanding is that the only areas where you're gonna have an issue with contracts is if you have a satellite dish. And that's if you flip from DirecTV to Dish Network. If you, when your contract is up with them after 2 years, let's say, if you go from satellite and revert back to Dish in 2 years, and that contract is up and you get a better deal from DirecTV, and you switch over, then you've got a 2-year contract. But if you stay with Direct or with Dish beyond your 2-year contract, you're hoping to get out of the time.
Right, and the other interesting point to make before I ask your question is, we have a 1-year contract because at one of our meetings the first time around, somebody said, well, you're gonna drop that fiber to my farm for free? And we said, yeah. He said, well, I have an empty farmhouse that I'm gonna rent someday, so I'm gonna have you put fiber there. And we thought, uh-oh, we better at least have a year's worth of revenue. But it's not a contract for the first year where we raise it in the 13th month. The contract you get on day one is the contract you'll have in the 13th month, unless video programming goes up, which it does. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, this thing has been, I don't know, the right word is dragging on. We've been working on it for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Why all of a sudden now do we have to decide in 3 weeks that we're gonna be a member before we know we're not gonna have these pledge cards back? I mean, you know we're not gonna have those back.
Right.
It's not gonna happen. We can, as a township, do that without knowing what our constituents actually wanna do.
We're gonna help you with,
I'm not comfortable with it.
right, I understand, and we're gonna help you with that. I was actually told by the marketing committee to tell all the township officials that we're going to provide your constituents with your names and your phone numbers, and ask them to call you, to tell you if they're in favor of it, and to tell you if they're not in favor of it. We're not gonna make the distinction, so we're gonna help you learn from your constituents what they want. You may not like that, but, you know, I don't know how else to let them know. Yes, sir.
Can you quote a figure on what it was gonna cost to drop in cities versus,
Average, yes.
you said 2,500?
On average, it's $2,500 in the city, it's about $10,000.
Price for this project is what, 57 million?
57 million.
And you have 7,000, a little over 7,000 possibilities.
You're right.
You divide 7,000 into 57 million, that's over $8,000. Where's the rest of the money going?
Well, that's the average. You have to remember that 2/3 of the drops are in cities. 1/3 of the drops are in the country. So 1/3 of your drops cost on average $10,000. The average for both of them is about $5,800. But we have other startup costs involved with this. We have to bury the backbone. We have to build head ends in each of the towns in certain spots in the country. We have to buy electronics. We have to hire people. We have to buy trucks. It's a very conservative business plan. Yes, sir.
Okay, so where are we at? First of all, we have to go back and decide whether or not we want to be part of the joint powers to start, right?
Yes.
Next thing is, we're gonna have pledge cards coming out, we're gonna have 4,000 people calling us. Let us
Well-
know whether or not the thing is right or wrong for us to vote for us, right? I mean, the point is that, well, what are the phases here?
I'm not sure how to answer that, Shannon. You want to? I don't want to say something that somebody says. Well, he stood up and said that.
I think everybody here kind of wants to know what to expect, because. I mean,
So we
we're
hope to
looking
know
at public
who's-
money for private industry, even though it's co-op.
Right,
So it only makes sense that we know what to tell these people when they call us.
right. You want to talk about it?
By joining the joint powers, you haven't agreed to issue bonds at that point. You will be required to hold a public hearing, probably more than one. You will have other opportunities to decide ultimately on the bond issue. That will occur at a later date. We should have additional pledge card information available by that time. The liability that you would incur under the agreement, I believe, if you later chose to get out of the agreement, you'd probably be responsible for some legal fees to have it redrafted. So,
Did that answer your question?
Yep.
One more question? 2 more if you have them? I don't care. Jeff?
Just want to make a comment.
You talk, there was a bunch of hands that went up that were frustrated because I got some of those calls that you had Clearwave and it just went away, right? It just went away. How many of you remember, and I recognize faces in here, and I got a pretty good memory, a really cold winter night, say, being around late, or UFC's annual meeting, who started Clearwave? Do you remember? UFC did. It was called Extra Time. And then we sold it to Midwest Wireless. And I was there because they said, we'll take care of you. We provided the vertical real estate on all the elevators that you own. We started Extra Time. I went through the bankruptcy proceedings when they failed. Had to go back into the St. Paul Bankruptcy Court, buy it back. I will make a point, I promise. Got it back, sold it to Midwest Wireless. They said, we'll take care of it. We said, we're not really good at this, but we want this for our members. Because our members said they want this. Okay? So we did that. Midwest Wireless said, no problem, we'll take care of you. They sold it to a company called Altel. We had to renegotiate the contract since they had space on our elevator towers. No problem, we'll take care of you. Went to Verizon. Verizon answers to a different group of shareholders. They didn't call us and tell us. I can tell you, because I'm in an awkward position, Denny, but because I work for a lot of you, because you're shareholders. Okay? They just said, oh, by the way, we're discontinuing, which meant all of our elevators, our C-stores, and everything else, all of a sudden we had to find a different way to get internet. Because, by the way, it takes internet to run everything. We have more computers than we have employees. It takes 3 computers to pump gas, for God's sake. Okay? So what I'm telling you is a cooperative gives you an opportunity to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay? You had no say when Verizon determined that you no longer generated enough revenue. Doesn't make them bad people. They answered the shareholders that they quit it. They sent you a letter and said you're done. I don't want to go through that again. So, win, lose, or fail, the cooperative gives you a chance to decide. So, apologize for the comment, but the memory came back. We have a rule at our board where we don't talk about Extra Time anymore, but no, I just didn't. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions, ideas? If I might take off my moderator hat and put on my cooperative advocate hat, is now, I just want to stress to you, and I live out in the country and our internet options are limited. And we, on the best day we get 2 meg. And that might be barely adequate right now, barely adequate. But we do not know what the future is going to bring. Exponentially it's going to expand, so that 2 meg will be inadequate by a long shot in a few years. And the final point I wanted to make is that if we don't do it, nobody else will. The incumbents won't, the private companies won't, the Frontiers, the CenturyLinks, they won't come out and put that fiber in the ground for us. We have to do it ourselves. So with that, and if there are no more, one question, Doug, comment?
Yeah, this is a comment. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Doug Munch. I'm the mayor of New Auburn. I also sit on the Red College board and the vice chair of that. I also sit on the cooperative board of directors. How many of you have ever done an internet speed test at home? Seriously, how many of you have been told you get this speed, 2 megs, or whatever it is? And when you run your test speed, what does it actually come out to be? I just did mine the other day. I'm supposed to get 2 megs. I had 560 kbp. That's less than half of what I'm supposed to get. Doing fiber, you don't lose that. If I've been involved with this project, what, Mark, 4 years? And believe me, my own constituency gives me a lot of flack about this. I believe in this project, and I kind of stir the pot from time to time on both, especially on the JP. So, my own personal opinion, one, we are never ever going to get an opportunity like this again. If we don't do this project now, you'll never see it, unless you're willing to pay millions of dollars out of your own pocket. I'll leave it go up there.
Okay, Rob?
One last comment. My business is Guidecraft, just on the west side of Winthrop. We used to be in this building, so I tell Jeff thanks for the hospitality all the time to come back in our building, but just 6 years ago, we were in this small building. We're at 100,000 square feet there. This year, for the next couple of months, we're opening a warehouse in the Netherlands. We're opening a warehouse in Canada, and by the end of the year, we'll have a warehouse in Central America, Colombia. The ability to have the capacity for communications that we're going to be required to have is not there right now. We're extremely limited. It will hamper our growth. We're all for this project because of what it will allow us to do. It will allow us to continue to grow and become grow as the international company that we are. And our base of operations is right here in Winthrop, right here in this community, supporting this community. I appreciate the farmers. I appreciate all the other businesses. As I've told Mark before, it's hard to imagine what can happen, what will happen once this technology and this bandwidth, this 8,300-foot pipe is out there. What information can flow to us, what information can flow from us, what it will do to our community in a positive way, what it will do to keep our kids in our communities instead of importing them off to college and not seeing them again until 50 years from now. It's a huge asset. We're 100% for it. I'm on the Winthrop City Council. I'm voting yes for it. I urge you guys to get on board. Let's do it.
Thank you, Ron. One final comment from Cindy.
I'm Cindy. I do a lot of the email blasts. I go out to the rural area. I'm just one of the people who do the email blast. And before I saw a show of hands of MyClearWave users, let's put the hands in the air again for MyClearWave. Okay, so chances are I don't have your new email address. Okay? So, and I do like sending out emails. So can you please put down your new email address on a piece of scratch paper, whatever, and give it to me or any of these people with the name badges on, so I can keep you in the loop with the numbers you're asking for. And if you've got questions for us, you can email me as well, and I'll get the answers for you. But again, if you were a MyClearWave, I probably don't have your email address. And I don't have it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close off. Thank you much for your comments, and have a safe trip home.